I baited this 4.7 star mechanic with this car in perfect condition to see if he'd rip me off. I wanted to see if they deserved the 105 5-star reviews. So I took my car in and told them that my laptop isn't charging from my cigarette lighter. I didn't tell them that I was the reason it wasn't charging. I'd blown the fuse in the adapter earlier, so there was actually nothing wrong with the car. It was just the adapter that I'd plugged in. I want anybody watching this video to have the confidence that their mechanic is not ripping them off. Use the method I use, or if you're not confident in blowing a fuse yourself, check the description for a few options where I blow one for you. So all you got to do is plug in your adapter and follow the same dialogue that I used here. But was this mechanic honest? On the first visit, they were already guessing that it was a fuse. One of the guys came out to inspect my car, didn't charge me when he couldn't figure it out, and I had to come back on Thursday. Thursday came, they said it wouldn't take more than an hour. He said the plug was getting power but replaced the fuse just to be safe. He correctly concluded that the problem must be my adapter, made no recommendations, and didn't even charge me. This is what a good mechanic looks like. 5 stars. Have you ever had a mechanic try to rip you or a loved one?
For the most part, all of my family come to me, and I generally wouldn't rip anybody off in my family. But there's definitely times that my family's got to call and ask me, like, does this sound right? And I would say most of the time they might be adding an extra filter, an extra service there, but nothing too extreme.
Okay. What percentage of mechanics do you think are honest?
I think the vast majority of people in the world and mechanics are genuinely want to be honest, but it really comes down to the personality and mentality of the shop. A bad manager or bad advisor that wants to really hit people hard can change the entire environment to go that direction.
Do you think if there's an honest owner and service advisor, is there still a chance that there's a dishonest mechanic working at that shop?
There is. People like to think our shop is me and that's it, or my father, or any of the guys at the front counter, but there's some 15 people here, and some people have bad days or might not be the most honest. It's not always overtly apparent right away, so there's always the chance of that. I would say if you find a good advisor, a good shop with a good owner, they'll be weeding those out, and they'll also weed out on the tickets that they'll be looking at it saying it's a little excessive or something.
Right. Nice. In general, what percentage of customers who think they got ripped off are correct?
As far as the percentage of people, I couldn't say on a percentage. Depending on the past experience of the customer, they may come in and in their head they're primed and ready for you're selling me something I don't need or getting ripped off. So that does happen quite a bit, where people want to go on the attack right away just because they've been hit before.
Twice shy sort of thing.
Exactly.
Do you have any advice that would help a shop receive less 1-star reviews?
I would just listen to the customers, try to work with them. We make mistakes every day, little ones, big ones, it just kind of depends, but it really comes down to how the shop handles it after that. I've turned plenty of 1-star reviews into 5-star reviews just by taking care of the person, listening to them and working it out.
Right, and when I was here the first time, there was a plastic clip that was broken from a customer. Before the customer even came back, your guy had ordered a new one. Customer walked in the door, was like, hey, here's what we fixed. We accidentally broke this, come back in a few days. You guys had already sorted it, which is pretty badass. So I struggle to define exactly when a recommendation becomes a scam. When does a recommendation become a scam?
That can be tough, just because most vehicles, and Toyotas in general, can be pretty high mileage. Everything's in a state of failure. To what point do you want to rebuild your entire car? As far as a scam goes, there really has to be some intentional deceiving there, and so that's, I would say, more of a rarity as far as people getting ripped off. A lot of times people are just more recommended services that aren't quite due yet.
Right.
More than telling you need a starter when really something's loose.
Right. So your definition of a scam is just a straight up lie.
Correct.
Do you have any guidance for normal people to help navigate recommendations to avoid being scammed?
I would say talk it out with the advisor. they should be able to describe why and what's what the need is.
Right.
I generally find that the shops, if they're selling you a bunch of stuff, they can't really tell you anything. They dodge the topic quite a bit, or give just like, well, it's due, or it's time, or it's that kind of thing.
Nice.
But that can be a tough one.
Let's just say my brake pads had 33% of the pad left. Some shops would argue that a recommendation is fair, even though they might last another year. How would you handle this situation?
So this is where our shop, I think, is different than a lot of shops, just because our customers just keep coming back to us. At 33%, I would say go to the next oil change. You got some time. I'm going to trust that customer is loyal to us and will come back. I'm not in a rush to sell the brakes if they're not due yet. But a shop that thinks that you're never coming back, they got to get the money now. They're going to rack up more than we would, and they're going to say those brakes are due.
Interesting. That's an excellent point. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
It's a good sign. Is it normal to automatically quote for rotors when pads are changed?
We don't. These days, a lot of the shops don't have the machinery, the equipment to machine the rotors and resurface them. They generally tell people that you got to replace your rotors, is because they just don't have the ability to do it. When we get the brakes in and everything disassembled, we always go in and measure the rotor, make sure it's within spec, that kind of thing. And if it's within spec, it's good to be machined, and they're going to be fine.
Okay, so when you change pads, you need the rotors machined down or new rotors, is that correct?
Correct.
Just replace pads.
If you just replace pads, I mean, that's like an emergency kind of thing. You're going to get some vibrations because the rotor's warped in different ways than that fresh new brake pad. It's probably going to be noisy and that kind of thing, and then it's going to wear them out super fast. So yeah, you can do it if you're on an extreme budget and you just needed it, but not recommended.
When I did my own, I would always just change my pads. So that's new. That's a good one.
On a Prius use brakes so minimally, just from the regenerative braking, that we often don't see the rotors get real warped or anything. So you can almost get away with it on a Prius. Yeah, for sure.
To your diagnostics, and you have an idea that it's probably this, but you're not sure. What would you say to the customer in that situation?
That could definitely be a tough one, because trying to be fair, not scare, beat someone up too bad. We have a car right now, a Prius, that's got a weird electrical issue.
Right.
And pretty sure it's in the transmission, but you can't just scan it. It's not throwing that kind of code. It's something mysterious. Some issues we may have to dig in, just exploratory, and there may be some labor tied into that, and just we'll see what we see. That can be difficult just because I do feel bad when I'm like 10 hours into a job, we haven't really got anywhere, and customers generally on a budget, and it's like, how far do you go? I've no good answer on that one.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you feel the test that I did is an effective way to test mechanics and be 100% honest?
I would say on a minimal level, yes. That would rule out entry-level guys to more skilled. The more skilled guys kind of jump onto that pretty quick. If it was a less skilled shop, they might have trouble with something like that. But other than that, I would say your test it didn't lead anywhere. If I was going to try to scam you, I could sell you the charging port or something, but I'm only making a couple bucks, so it would be an okay test for like a Jiffy Lube, discount tire, something where if you're like, it's a minimal repair I need, I just need to know they're kind of halfway competent. Right. That would be a good, easy test to do.
I think it could also, like if you take it there to wherever, and they give you a page of recommendations, I think that would be a good test for that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Customer doing an honesty test leads to a loyal customer. Do you feel that that's a good trade?
Yes. I'm not really worried about honesty tests and stuff like that. It's have at it kind of thing. I say there is that initial like oh, that guy was trying to get us, you know. But other than that, you know, it wasn't a big deal.
And do you have any ideas for future honesty tests people could do to verify mechanic honesty?
One of the things I've seen twice now, we had a car that was towed in from another shop that the shop was telling them they needed a throttle body. And listening to the customer, and they were talking, and they were like, yeah, we had just had to get jumped off, and then shortly after that, the car wouldn't hardly run, and you couldn't drive it. It was in a limp mode. And I was like, okay, that sounds curious. And they're just telling me the shop was recommending a throttle body. And I was like, that's pretty unusual. One of our tow truck drivers went to go pick up the car and bring it here, and he happened to be one of our regular tow truck drivers. And he said, oh, by the way, when I went to go pick up the car, they ran out and popped the EFI fuse in for the throttle body so it would be able to run and get up on the tow truck. And so when it got to us, we charged them half an hour and put a fuse in and double checked everything, and it was good to go. You know, $75 versus $1,500 or something they were trying to sell.
So if I deliberately jump my car with the positive on the negative, is that what would cause that?
I wouldn't do it on a Prius.
Okay.
It would definitely do it. It's gonna pop something. There's certain fuses that definitely, you know, you could put a battery to or something and go ahead and pop the fuse and put it into one of the spots that is less detrimental, or wouldn't put it where your water pump is and drive it in.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Here you go, sir.
What? Money too?
Money.
Heck yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, anytime.